I do find myself pulling a watch out of the drawer and popping the strap off and then emptying my box of NATOs and leathers and rubbers and onto a big surface, and I start rummaging and playing. I mean, it does help if you've got far too many straps at home. This is important. And this is what I would like people to do. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to buy a NATO, for example, to match a watch you've got. If you like a NATO, buy it. Because you might have a watch later that works or not, or you might put it onto a watch and think, gosh, that really works.
I think a few people are probably, whether they're scared of damaging their watch or worried they don't know how to do it, a few people are reluctant to change straps. And
I can understand, certainly. The old spring bars do seem to strike fear into the heart of people. And yes, there is no question, there is a good chance you might scratch the inside of the lug. But I would say to people, don't be afraid of taking out the spring bars. You can do it. I would absolutely say invest in a good spring bar tool. I mean, I've seen people taking spring bars out with Swiss Army knives, and you're thinking, oh, and
yeah, what's gonna get more damage, your finger or the
yeah.
watch? It's a close run thing, isn't it? Our regular listeners may remember that we spoke about recently my Rolex Oyster Perpetual, a watch that means a lot to me. But if you'll recall, it had a bracelet which was in a very, very sorry condition. Of course, I would never ever get rid of it because it's an original part of the watch. It is safely tucked away in my watch drawer. But after much talking and taking and throwing, my Rolex has a new life, and I literally mean that because to me, it's been absolutely reborn. And how? Look at that. Now, Richard, this was your idea because this, beautiful. Of course, is the highly strap, the highly tan strap. And there are so many things that just work perfectly about this strap and this watch. Where do I start? I think the vintage vibe is just carried over, in a way that is utterly optimal. You can imagine this watch coming out of the Rolex factory in the early 70s or maybe even late 60s wearing this strap. It just looks so holistic. It looks like it was meant to be there. And the reason for that is, of course, the colours complement the watch perfectly. The form of the strap complements the watch perfectly. And we spoke in our last video about how this dial had patinaed from its original silver to a much more champagne-like colour. And look at this incredible coincidence that you have the stitching along the side of the strap, and to me that matches the champagne patina of the dial perfectly. And that's sort of like, and obviously let's without forgetting the buckle, which complements the polished steel perfectly as well. So to me, this is more than a triumph.
I mean, there's no question that watch you've got there looks absolutely stunning on that highly, and it's how it's meant to be. I think it's one of those rare marriages made in heaven, where, as you said, the leather is exactly the right color to complement the champagne dial. The stitching is, by some wonderful twist of fate, exactly the same color as the champagne dial. And that era of Rolex.
You really couldn't.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't. To be honest, as we said last night, which our listeners are blissfully unaware of at the moment, you could have gone into a Rolex boutique. You could have spent £500 or £600 on an OEM leather strap, and I don't think you'd have got anything that would have looked better. And what it's done is, and this is one of the things I think we're probably going to explore here, is strap changes, which is something we're all super passionate about in this business. If you get the mix right, it doesn't just change the look of the watch. It can actually enhance it from where it was meant to be, because the manufacturer doesn't always get it perfect. And with a little bit of playing, a little bit of patience, you can end up in a scenario like you've got now, where the watch probably looks the best it's ever looked.
I couldn't agree more. It's not an exaggeration to say that this has completely transformed the watch, not just in terms of its look, but how it will be used. Because of the fragility of the bracelet and my prevarication about what to do about it, I didn't really wear it as much as I wanted to, as much as I should have done. And I was also, a little bit wary when I did wear it, because I thought, well, what if it falls off? And I knew that, the bracelet wasn't doing this watch justice. And so because of that, there are other watches in my collection which I wore instead. And now what it has done is put this watch into a condition and state And by state I mean sort of like utility, where I can and I think I will be wearing this every day for the next unspecified period, because it's amazing. I've just fallen in love with it all over again, and it's taken a very special watch to me and given it a whole new lease of life. And I can't say how grateful I am for that, because it's just remarkable. It really has transformed my relationship with this watch. That's yeah, a remarkable fact for a Tuesday morning, but it really has. And
A long while ago, in fact, we wrote a feature on it, which we could punch up a link to. My wife gave me her grandfather's Eterna chronometer from the 60s.
that's an
And
incredible story. I remember that's actually one of the
yeah,
best features I think that's been published in the magazine. So anyone who hasn't read it, read it. Please do, because it's wonderful. It's a bit of history. It's a bit of personal history. I love that feature. Sorry, I'm
thank you
interrupting.
very
Carry
much.
on.
No, I'm delighted you liked it. So this is an Eterna chronometer Centenaire from 1961. And because I'm obviously such a watch nerd, geek, call us what you will, um, she'd actually had the discipline to keep this watch aside and not tell me she had it, because she wanted just to surprise me one day with it, and one day she did. And this is a beautiful certified chronometer. I wrote to Eterna; they were fantastic. They gave me lots of details back on it, which really surprised me. How much it cost, what movement it had in it. And the only thing that was letting it down, to be honest, was the strap. It was actually still on a leather strap that I guess her grandfather had had. It wasn't the original strap. The original buckle was long gone. And so I brought it down to WatchGecko, and myself and a colleague, we said, like, this is a great project for the day. And we eventually selected one of our more higher end Horween straps. It was about £80 sort of value. And we put it onto that, and it's almost like a blood red, a deep red sort of rust color, because again we did exactly what you've done last night, exactly the same process. We matched the way that the crystal, because again it's plexiglass, had faded with the gold on it. And then I was very lucky what I managed to do then, something I might recommend to you, sir, if I may be so bold, is
Go
I
on.
did
I'm intrigued.
source an aftermarket Eterna buckle.
Ah, absolutely. I may well do that.
So you could source an aftermarket Rolex buckle so you could still have the crown. Unless, of course, you want to fly the flag, which, of course, you might want to do equally.
I'm very happy to fly the flag for the time being, but as a long-term
Yeah.
project, why not? Why not go for the total originality and have
It'd
the
be nice
the
then we can
Rolex buckle too?
photograph it and show the complete sort of 360 look that you've created later on.
Yeah,
That would be quite nice. So yeah, I've been in this similar process where this watch that was tired and not, I wouldn't say unloved, but tired and had been in a drawer for 40 years, now is a watch I wear at least once a week, just because, just because of the strap. The strap made the watch wearable again.
I completely relate to that. That is 100% what has happened. And it made me think about another thing as well, which is the transformative power in the strap, not just in the way that it changes the sort of utility of your watch and enables you to wear and enjoy a watch that maybe previously you weren't able to, but the whole aesthetic. Because I mean, this watch, not only is it better, it looks so different
Mm.
to how it did before on the original metal bracelet. It looks, to me, it looks more refined. It looks more classical.
Mm.
It looks more distinctive, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. It makes it look like it kind of complements the era that it came from.
Very much so.
It's, I mean we're both, obviously we both Bond fans, we know that. And I always thought that the Rolex Submariner that Connery wore in the first couple of movies, when he's got it on a black leather strap to begin with, I always thought it was a really good look. And I'm more surprised more people don't have the courage, should we say, to take off their oyster bracelets and put their Submariners on a black leather strap, because if you do it, it's whoa. Good example. One of the watches I wish I'd never sold was my Tag Heuer 1500 series with the graphite dial. So this Tag Heuer bracelet was not, I didn't feel the best quality, and it scratched quite badly. It was like a bead blasted finished, and it scratched very badly. And I then went to the Tag Heuer dealership and I bought a bespoke Tag Heuer black leather strap that came on a tag buckle, because I decided it might just be a different look. And from that day onwards, that Hoyer 1500 never lived on anything other than a leather strap because it just looked better.
Which is unusual for you, Richard, because you are well known for pretty much removing any strap that any watch comes to you on.
This Helm Vanuatu I'm wearing at the moment, as you well know, is extremely new. I haven't had it very long because everybody has to wait 12 months for a helm. And within days, the strap was off it.
There you go.
I had
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else on. So yeah, no, back to the case in point. You were saying what we want to try and get over here is and it is, the word is right, it is the transformative capability of a strap change.
Now you've got some great examples to show us, haven't you, Richard?
Yeah, I did. I literally, as I came from one room to another, from the normality of the house into the bunker, I grabbed one, two, three, four, five, six watches from the collection, which none of which are at the moment are on the original straps, and all of which look fundamentally different to the watch on the manufacturer's website. And that's the reason I've picked them. And I've not changed straps today. These are literally the straps the watches are living on now. First is my Apollo 15 Bulova Lunar Pilot. Now, this comes either on a metal or a sort of NASA style strap. Okay, or a leather, sort of a blue leather strap it used to come on, and I've put it now onto a brown Zulu Diver endurance strap, which is one of our tougher straps, as anybody knows who's had it. And this gives a very, very, very different look to this watch, and I rather like it.
It's weird. It almost goes from a lunar to a ballroom aesthetic. It's a very, very, very different look,
It's a
and
very different
that
look. It's like
yeah,
a
I like it a
field.
lot.
It's a bit like a military field chrono now.
Yeah, yeah, but I think you could also sort of like, I think that works very well in all sorts of indoor settings as
Yeah,
well.
and and the key, of course, is, and
I
this is
love the way
something.
that it showcases the complexity of the watch. Actually, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things as well, as you correctly pointed out this morning, is that the key is to get a buckle, which the Endurance has, to match the case colouring. I mean, it sounds like we're stating the obvious here, so apologies if people are looking at us rolling their eyes, but that is so important because I have seen people buy who've got perhaps a matte finish watch like this, the sandblasted finish, and then of course you put a lovely new strap on it, and it's got a shiny buckle, and it just aesthetically looks wrong. So
That's
it's
one
quite
of the
important to
things that
match it up.
always jars, isn't it? And
It
I
does.
know a lot
It
of
really
people do
does.
that, but I feel the same way about that as some people feel about people wearing, I don't know, black shoes with blue suits or whatever you're not meant to do.
What was it
All
that
looks the same to me.
all the footballers were doing a long while ago? Black suits with brown shoes. I always thought that
Something
looked a
like that.
little weird.
Yeah, yeah. But it doesn't look as weird as a matte buckle with a polished watch case.
It's just wrong in every way. That,
It
and
is.
I'm
It
sorry
is.
if there's somebody looking at the base of their wrist now thinking, "Oh my goodness, that's me." I'm sorry. It's just wrong. Anyway, moving on. I've got a few others that I'll rattle through just again to prove a
Yeah.
point. I have here a Tracer P96 Outdoor Pioneer Evolution, which is one of my favorite polymer tactical watches. So this came on a rubber strap, of course, and with a rubber strap with rather oddly a silver buckle. Bit of a gaff there,
Okay.
maybe from Tracer. So what I've now done, I've put it onto a vintage Bond strap with black keepers and black buckle. And this is, I believe, this is a really, really strong look. You can't really see it in the light there, but of course this is green and red. This is a very, very strong look on this watch, and it's one of I think again it looks better than when it came out of the factory with the original Tracer
You
strap.
don't want anything shiny on a tactical watch at all, so I'm very surprised
I don't.
that you tell me that Tracer had a shiny silver buckle on it.
It wasn't shiny per se, but it was. It's like a matte finish, but it just but there's nothing silver on the strap in the watch. It looks weird. Next one is a shocker, and you're going to love this one because you've had this watch for a couple of months. You
Oh, I
had
know
my
what it is.
Breitling. Yes, go on, tell me.
I know what it is. Yeah, it's the Breitling, isn't it? It is the
It's the
Breitling.
Breitling Blackbird. Now you
Yeah, yeah.
had it on you had the original Breitling rubber strap, which I'll let you see, and then you had the sailcloth, the black
Which I
sailcloth.
thought was stunning. I thought it worked so
Yeah,
well,
and
the
it's
sailcloth. A big
yeah,
fan
and
of
it's
sailcloth, and I thought perfect for that.
absolutely,
But you're going to show me
and
something better, aren't you?
it's very Breitlingy. So this is how I'm
That's
wearing it at the
different.
moment.
Are
Totally
you sure
different.
it's the same watch? Are you sure it
Believe it
is?
or
Oh
not,
no,
it is the same
it is
watch.
the same watch. Yeah.
its size looks different. It totally. This is probably one of the greatest transformations. This watch is on the Zulu Diver Marine Nationale with the red stripe. The red stripe. This watch does not lend itself perfectly to a NATO, as you can see, because it does sit quite oddly on it because it's quite small. But once it's on your wrist and it's
Oh, yeah.
curved round, it does work really, really well. Now, what I really
I
love
think that's
about
great.
this is that you've got the red pointer on the top of the chrono hand. You've got the red Series Speciale written down there. So you've got this red that goes as a line straight down through the watch and the strap. Very, very strong look. Very
I've
strong
got a
look,
question
I
for you,
think.
Richard.
Yeah.
Because I think you've just got more imagination than I have. But what made you think of that? Because I would never have put those two together, and yet when they are, it works so well.
What I find myself doing, and this is probably a sad indictment on my life, is I do find myself pulling a watch out of the drawer and popping the strap off, and then emptying my box of NATOs and leathers and rubbers and onto the a big surface, and I start rummaging and playing. I mean, it does help if you've got far too many straps at home. This is important. And this is what I would like people to do. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to buy a NATO, for example, to match a watch you've got. If you like a NATO, buy it. Because A, you might have a watch later that works or not, or you might put it onto a watch and think, gosh, that really works. What I sometimes do, and I'm obviously in a very fortunate position to do this, is I go down to the WatchGecko, um, the vaults, with maybe just the head of one of my watches, and I'm matching them up against all the different straps, and suddenly something just leaps out and resonates.
Well, I have seen the vaults, and one could pass days down there looking at
We,
different
we
straps.
have done.
Absolutely, which we have done. I mean, I think it's the only
Um,
place I know of in the world that's actually got more straps than your box of straps,
you're probably right.
possibly.
Next one is, of course, probably the greatest watch in the world, the Gakota Phalanx. Again, super look. This is classic. This is definitely one that looks best on a Bond strap. There's no
100%.
question.
100%. Yep.
That that's as good a match as you're ever going to get. The grey complements the tactical side of the watch. The satin keepers complement the satin watch. You would think that you would genuinely think that had been made to go on that, and I can assure you it hasn't. Last offering, I think probably is the one that looks most different. Um,
Wow. What, more than the Blackbird? Because that
well,
looked
yeah,
very different.
well, yes,
I know the
because
Blackbird very well now, so I was
because
so surprised to see that come out. But
because this is one that really challenges, I think, perceptions on the eye a little. This is
it sounds promising.
my Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch on the lunar strap. Now, I mean,
Uh,
there are many people I've shown this strap to, which for quite a while was our best-selling strap. Who've said they struggle with the lack of symmetry, the huge off-center nature of it. However, to me, that's its strength. My When I put my Omega onto this is no longer the watch I bought in Abu Dhabi airport on a whim and treasured it all the way home on a flight. This to me looks like a watch that I've nicked out of the Smithsonian that used to belong to Buzz
yeah.
Aldrin.
I mean, I can't believe people say that they struggle with that because that's how it's meant to be. It's a bit like people saying they struggle with the fact that the Earth is curved rather than flat.
Ah,
Um,
I
in
mean,
my
to me,
opinion,
I think I've never seen a Speedmaster look better than this. I will happily, when I'm working here at home and I'm writing for the magazine, just having that laying out, stretched out like that, I find inspirational because I just think the watch looks so cool. I mean, obviously, it's lovely to wear it around your wrist, of course, as well. But just seeing it like that gives me a tingle.
it was
Um,
born. That's what it was born to do. That's how it was meant
it's
to be.
those are the ones I grabbed on the way through to chat to you today. And I think they're all very, very good examples of how you can take a strap that is fundamentally different to the strap that the watch was designed and sold on. And I think all of those watches actually look better than the OEM strap that I got them on.
I couldn't agree more. I think a few people are probably, whether they're scared of damaging their watch or worried they don't know how to do it. A few people are reluctant to change straps, and maybe that's a sort of like a perception that we need to try and work on a little bit. Maybe we need to to show people. I mean, I imagine most people listening to us here will be very familiar with the concept of changing straps and probably do it regularly. But equally, there'll be a lot of people who will think, "Oh no, not for me. Too
Mm.
complicated. I might ruin everything." And it's sort of like, well, I say it's easy to think. There are some watchers, obviously, that are a little bit reluctant. But I think the way that particularly with newer watches, the way things are moving is that it's getting easier and easier to change straps around, isn't it?
Well, I think as well, yeah, I mean, I can understand certainly the old spring bars do seem to strike fear into the heart of people. And yes, there is no question, there is a good chance you might scratch the inside of the lug. Uh, it's these scratches are very superficial if you do them, if they worry you. You know, they can be removed. We've just published a really nice little feature on scratch removal, but you know, they are with a spring bar, there's so little spring pressure, you're not going to dig a gouge out the side of your stainless steel lug of a watch. But yeah, there's always the chance you could scratch them, but I think that's a risk worth taking to get this transformative look on the watch. Now, of course, I think what you're alluding to, of course, is the built-in spring bars within the
Yeah,
strap,
the
the
quick
quick
release.
release
Yeah,
ones. That has certain, which you, I mean, I've got here. I mean, on most of the the WatchGecko and Zulu Diver straps, I've got them here. That does make a huge difference, and I think um, that's really important. Although I would caution one word of advice: if, like me, you travel with a watch and several straps, it's a bit sad, I know, but I do it. I packed a watch. I packed two straps that had QR spring releases, and I packed a NATO. Of course, what I
I
forgot
see
to
where this is
pack.
going. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. What did I forget to pack? Spring bars. So the NATO
Yes.
never got used. So, but yeah, I think the quick release ones are a superb invention. But I would say to people, don't be afraid of taking out the spring bars. You can do it. I would absolutely say invest in a good spring bar tool. I mean, I've seen people taking spring bars out with Swiss Army knives, and you're thinking, oh, and
Yeah. What's gonna get more damage, your finger or the
yeah.
watch? It's a close run thing,
Well,
isn't it?
a professional spring bar tool obviously has the fork at the end of it, and that's designed to hold the bar in place. Do it on a soft surface. Do it on something where if the spring bar does decide that it's going to launch itself into orbit, that it doesn't go very far
Trust
and
me.
comes back.
Wise advice. Wise advice. And of course,
Yeah.
when it comes to the NATO straps, of course, something that you showed me, Richard, is that there's more than one way to do that as well. So, in terms of transformative power, it's not just what type of strap you put on, but how you put it on as well.
That's actually true. I mean, I can probably
And
try and
this is probably another
demonstrate.
video for another day how you can do it. But
I'll
it's like
show you
tying a
one.
tie, isn't there? There's apparently 6 different ways to tie a tie. I didn't know
Yes,
that.
it's interesting though, but I always judge a chap when he comes along with a Windsor knot.
As opposed to
I
say a double Windsor or a half Windsor, you see, like that's 3 of them just there.
That's right. And I don't know why, for some bizarre reason, I was always trained to be suspicious of a chap with a Windsor knot. So I don't know if people will judge you on the way you fasten your NATO, but maybe
Well, there we go.
it's a cultural thing we're not aware of yet.
Coming soon to a YouTube screen near you, will people judge you on the way you fasten your NATO? We'll have to explore that theme in more detail.
Yeah. We've created a monster now, haven't we?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, he's the sort of
Um,
cad who can't maintain his keepers or whatever.
yeah. Now, there's one of our guest authors fastens an NATO in a way that I have never seen before. And what we
Which you
might do is
showed me, and must admit, I've never seen that before either.
no, I've never seen it since, but his rationale for it was flawless. And it did take a bit of hand. It was like patting your head and rubbing your tummy. It took a bit of hand and eye coordination for me to actually get the hang of it, because I've been doing it the other way instinctively for 30 years.
I think we'll have to show people that very soon. Is there a name for this technique? Maybe he should give his own name to it, a bit like the
Well,
Windsor knot or
we'll call it the Don Russell.
the
There
Don
you go.
Russell.
Who's
Don, we'll have
listening
to
to
get
this?
Don on.
Who's listening to this now, thinking, "What?"
Yes, the Don Russell. Don, you'll have to come on and show the
Yeah,
world how to do a Don Russell.
yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what? As I was going to say, I'm going off to enjoy my new Rolex, and that's a sort of
Oh,
Freudian slip because that's exactly how I'm thinking about it now, which is
that's
quite
beautiful.
interesting
That's
because,
beautiful. I
like,
love it.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah,
I,
I'm off to
I
enjoy
love
my
it.
new watch.
I hope you and your new Rolex have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Take
See you again
care.
soon.